How low can you go? So far for the Dodgers, it's second place in the division while holding on to a wildcard spot. If you wanted competitive baseball for LA late in the season, then buckle up.
You are Locked On Dodgers, your daily Los Angeles Dodgers podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
It's time for Locked On Dodgers, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. The boys in blue are no longer the top dog in the NL West. For the first time since April 28th, they drop from first in their division after getting swept in Anaheim and the Padres completing a sweep of their own against the Giants. Can't trust those bums. I look into the series finale against the Angels where the first 4 innings were all Dodgers, but Anaheim took over starting the 9th. There's a big injury scare regarding Max Muncy who got scrapped from the lineup on Wednesday. Plus, I dig deep into the trade deadline approach from Los Angeles and San Diego ahead of their big heavyweight matchup this weekend. This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. I'm Harry Ruiz, Spanish radio play-by-play broadcaster for the Las Vegas Raiders and the USC Football Trojans, a native Angelino with nearly 2 decades of experience working in sports media, and I bleed Dodger Blue for life. I'm having a blast jumping on the mic every weekday to dive deep into what I love most, which is talking Dodger baseball with you and Travis Rogers, who will be back with me on Friday. Man, I joined the Locked On family right as the Dodgers started their freefall. My first show was to recap the sweep against the Astros at Dodger Stadium, and since that 18-1 whooping they took on Independence Day, they've gone 12-21. That's almost 2 losses for every win. They've been swept 4 times since, and now they, for the first time in 3.5 months, are no longer leading the NL West. The thing is, we can't point fingers and say, this is the reason, that's why the Dodgers are losing. If it isn't the bats one day, it's the bullpen the other, or the starters not giving a quality start or going deep enough. Injuries have been hitting this team left and right. Then there's the manager, Dave Roberts, and an analytics-heavy front office making decisions as well. We can point fingers everywhere, and you're going to be right. There's always going to be different reasons with the way that the Dodgers are playing right now, because you go and see a disastrous game where they can barely put a run on the board, and then you get a day where they can put 6 runs on the board, but they aren't enough because the starters and the bullpen can't stop the opponents from getting runners to home plate. Well, focusing on Wednesday's game, because, man, over the weekend, we were encouraged. Remember that series against the Blue Jays, how it all started with Clayton Kershaw on Friday, with Blake Snell on Saturday, and Tyler Glasnow, he was good on Sunday, but unfortunately the rest of the team wasn't, and they ended up losing that game. Then Emmett Sheehan and Shohei Ohtani this week against the Angels, they gave the Dodgers chances to win, but the bullpen's a disaster, and the bats aren't carrying their weight. Yamamoto, he was terrible in his outing, and now that's a 4-game losing streak for the Dodgers because just last night, Wednesday night, it was a story of 2 halves. First, we go with the first 4 innings. We were feeling good. The Dodgers finally put up a crooked number in the first inning courtesy of a Shohei Ohtani converting himself the first pitcher with the leadoff triple since at least 1900. Mookie Betts brought him home with an RBI single, and Will Smith then followed up with a 2-run bomb. But the Angels got 2 back against Shohei in the bottom of the 2nd. Los Angeles, they scored 2 more in the 4th and retook a 3-run lead. That made it both in the 1st inning and in the 4th inning. Twice early in this game, they were up by 3 runs. But before Shohei was pulled, we saw some good things out of him. It was very fun also. Remember when we were watching the World Baseball Classic a couple years back, the championship game, U.S., Japan, super close game, and then Shohei Ohtani is out there closing the game. It's Shohei versus Mike Trout. That was everything the TV executives were dreaming of. The kind of ratings that you want with baseball games. And Shohei Ohtani struck out Mike Trout. Japan won the championship over the U.S. And now, for the first time ever in a Major League Baseball regular season game, we got this matchup twice. and both times Shohei Ohtani struck out Mike Trout. That was awesome, but winning the battle isn't good enough. That was a good battle for Shohei to win. You need to win the war. To win the war, you need an army. You need everybody to be on the same page. And even Shohei Ohtani had his flaws on Wednesday night. He wasn't great on the mound as in perfection, which is what the Dodgers needed out of him last night, because without it, you were keeping the team in a vulnerable position. They were allowing the Angels to hang around because the Dodgers, they only had 2 base runners after the 4th inning. They played with fire, having a 1-run lead, and that ended up biting them in the you-know-where, and they're behind in the 8th inning, just like it happened on Sunday against the Blue Jays. When you're in a funk, in a slump like this, like the bad moment the Dodgers in right now, they can't catch a break. You gotta create your own luck. And the Dodgers, they're not doing it right now. Edgardo Henriquez was real close from getting an inning-ending double play, but he tried to make a play on his own. He deflected the ball with his glove, and instead of finishing the 8th, the Angels extended it with an infield single, and 2 batters later, Logan O'Hoppe, he hit a bases-loaded single to take the lead that eventually ended up giving the Angels a win. They're 7th in a row against the Dodgers. And with it, they have completed the season sweep against LA. If Anaheim played that way, the way they do against the Dodgers the whole season, they'd be a contender. But the reality is that they're 5 games back from the final AL wildcard spot and 9 back from their divisional lead. So good luck. Go and enjoy Disneyland the moment that your regular season is over. But that's something that it doesn't matter who the Dodgers are playing. It doesn't matter what kind of season they're having. You can be under 500 like the Angels were. You're going to get their best every single time they're on the field. Why? Do you think it doesn't piss them off that LA won the World Series last year? Do you think it doesn't disappoint them that LA has the spending power that very few teams in baseball have, just like the Mets do with Cohen as their owner, just like the Yankees do because of their brand and being in the biggest media market in the United States? Very few teams can spend money like the Dodgers do. The Angels ain't one of them. They could have kept Shohei Ohtani. They didn't want to match the offer that the Dodgers did. You think it doesn't piss off people that the Dodgers, one offseason they sign Mookie Betts, then they bring Freddie Freeman in, then they bring Shohei Ohtani in, and then you got players that in other teams weren't delivering, like Max Muncy, and he comes to the Dodgers and he's a great player, or in the past that you were getting Corey Seager coming up through the farm system, Cody Bellinger coming up through the farm system, Walker Buehler, great players that were contributors for the 2020 World Series, and the Dodgers, those were their guys. They didn't have to go out and pay $100 million to bring them to the building. Every time somebody plays the Dodgers, you're getting the best out of them, and I mean, that's their World Series. For teams that aren't going to make it into the playoffs, playing the Dodgers is their World Series, and you have to be ready to take everyone's best. And the Dodgers, since July, since the All-Star break, since the trade deadline, we haven't seen a team that's able to respond as it should with all the stars they have on their roster. I understand, Dodgers fans. It's frustrating, it's disappointing, but just that game on Wednesday, the series finale against the Angels, the last time that we're going to be playing the team from Anaheim that they think they're Los Angeles, well, they might have taken the name after sweeping the Dodgers, but that's the kind of game where it's just so sad to see a team like this. Mookie Betts, he wasn't even supposed to play on Wednesday. He ended up getting in the lineup because Max Muncy ended up getting scratched, and we're going to be talking about him in just a couple minutes here. But Mookie goes in, he gets 2 hits. Will Smith, he gets a home run. Freddie Freeman, he gets a couple productive plays. But then everything is silent after the 4th inning. You can't just play 4 innings. There's 9 innings in a baseball game. We're not going to get many rainouts in Anaheim. We're not going to get many rainouts in Los Angeles, where the game, after becoming legal, it's like, okay, you're up in the scoreboard, you win it. No, you got to go and play all 9 innings. And the Angels, they kept themselves in the game. It was a close one, and the moment it just stayed the same way, it stayed a close game, I started getting a bad feeling in myself and being like, man, I just have this presumption right now that the Dodgers are going to blow it. And they did. It ended up happening, and now no more first place. No more first place for the boys in blue. And now they go from being the hunted to being the hunters. Now they're the ones that have to try to catch up to the Padres. They're the ones that need to sweep the Padres to start next week being first place, instead of, if they win the series 2-1, then they would end up that series tied in first place. It's not a good position, a good situation to be at, but that's how they've laid their bed. That's how this front office set up this team after the trade deadline. And in the third segment today, we're going to talk about the approaches that both front offices took and how one is paying off and how the other isn't. But man, it's just, I know that you might look at it as an overreaction, but the reality is that I don't see no life in these Dodgers. I can't start looking into October and looking at that schedule and being like, okay, let me see. Okay, NLDS, NLCS World Series. Fortunately, in my case, I work Raiders games. I call them every weekend when they're in action. It's like, okay, the Raiders don't play the same day as the Dodgers would be playing in the NLDS, NLCS, or World Series. Are they even going to make it to those that far in the postseason? Because right now, if the regular season ended today, they'd be in the wild card. They would have to win 2 out of 3 to make themselves a team that gets into the next round, into the NLDS, to potentially play those top dogs that right now, it's the Brewers, it's the Padres. Those are the teams that are contending up there. The Phillies, they're catching fire. They're a team that you got to be very careful with. And then you go to the teams like the Cubs, like the Mets, like the Dodgers. It's going to be a fun postseason, but first, you got to make it in it. And if the Dodgers play like the way that they've been playing since Independence Day, we are in deep you-know-what. Next on Locked On Dodgers, the Dodgers pulled Max Muncy from Wednesday's lineup. Should we panic, or are we just breathing into a paper bag for nothing? Most people can't name all their financial accounts or even what they're worth, whether it's 401ks, properties, or investments. And when you don't have the full picture, you can end up leaving money on the table. That's why there is Monarch Money. It's an all-in-one personal finance tool that brings your entire financial life together in one clean, easy-to-use interface on your laptop or your phone. Monarch does the heavy lifting for you. You can link all your accounts in minutes, see clear visuals, get smart categorization of your spending, and finally feel in control of your money without ever touching a spreadsheet. After I joined Monarch Money, I was shocked to see how many subscriptions I had. And also, all that takeout, it definitely stacked up. Don't let financial opportunities slip through the cracks. Use the code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com in your browser for half off your first year. That's 50% off your first year at monarchmoney.com with the code LOCKEDONMLB. Thanks for making us your first listen wherever you may be tuning in, either on your favorite podcast app or our YouTube channel. Smash that notification bell so you never miss a beat. Full episodes, hot takes, breaking Dodgers news, and the Dodgers postcast show with Pete Fox live after the final out of every game. If it drops, you're on it. That's how you become an everydayer here on Locked On Dodgers. Just like James, who joined the conversation in the comment section of yesterday's episode on YouTube, saying the only saving grace is the schedule and the fact we are going to get some bullpen help and rotational pieces back. Well, the schedule was, yes, it seemed like an easier path to the playoffs compared to other teams, including the Padres. But that easier path to the playoffs ended up sweeping you this past week against the Angels. I hope that's not the case next week when there's a 4-game series against the Rockies. And heading over to what you said, that the Dodgers are going to get bullpen help and rotational pieces back, the Dodgers had Max Muncy set to play third base and batting fifth in the order for the Dodgers on Wednesday, but he ended up feeling soreness on his right side while he was swinging in the cage. He's currently day-to-day, and he's getting some testing. Fortunately, it's not the same oblique injury as last year, and it isn't a muscular situation right now. Once he gets testing, the Dodgers will have more information, and hopefully it's just a day-to-day thing. It's something that doesn't land him on the IL, because we already had Max on the IL for a month, exactly 30 days. They struggled without him. 10 wins, 15 losses without him available. Especially you see how he benefits this team both with his bat and with his patience on the plate. His patience draws walks. His patience elevates the opportunities for players around him and, more importantly, connects the top of the lineup with the bottom of the lineup with somebody that's consistent. And it allows this team to have the opportunity to have more success when he's in the lineup than when he's not. Well, 10-15 without him. Since his return, the Dodgers, when he's in the lineup, they have gone 3-4. So it hasn't been a big increase, but it's almost 500 baseball with him in there. And we've seen other players benefit. Because, yes, the bench was short without Max Muncy, and Mookie Betts was supposed to have the day off on Wednesday. But at the end of the day, you saw Mookie Betts get his 5th multi-hit game in his last 8 games. When did Max Muncy return? 8 games ago. So you see Mookie Betts, he starts feeling better knowing that he has, if he's batting second, Freddie, Will, Max, Teo behind him, and there's more space of opportunity. And also, the pitchers are going to approach at-bats differently, knowing that Max Muncy's waiting over there either in the 5-hole or the 6-hole and saying, man, that might be a 7 to 10 pitch at-bat that I need to either get him out or ends up at first base with a hit or with a walk. So it changes everybody's psychology and the way they approach things, having Max Muncy in there. So tomorrow there will be better update, hopefully, once imaging gets done, once testing gets done, and hopefully Max Muncy is back in the lineup for Friday because a big series is approaching the Dodgers against the Padres. And talking about injuries, talking about these updates with players that are hurt, Tony Gonsolin, he's out for the year after undergoing internal brace surgery. He has been out since June 7th, and now he will be out for at least 8 to 10 months. That means April 2026 the soonest or June the latest with this recovery timeline. Let's remember, he came back from the Dodgers. He had Tommy John surgery. He missed 2024, but he returned this year, and he gave the Dodgers 7 starts. He went 3-2 with a 5-even ERA, and that's something where it's unsung heroes for the Dodgers. Guys like Tony Gonsolin, guys like Justin Robleski, guys like Ben Kasparius. When you had so many injuries in your rotation, when you had Blake Snell falling off early, when you had Tyler Glasnow getting injured, when you had Roki Sasaki getting hurt, and all of a sudden, all you had from your original rotation was Yoshinobu Yamamoto and Clayton Kershaw. And the other 3 days, you had to fill them up with players that weren't scheduled to be there as pieces of your rotation. Tony Gonsolin was one of those guys, and even though he wasn't incredible this year, we got to give him credit. He was part of that solution for the Dodgers earlier in the season. Now, one of the solutions the Dodgers wanted later in the year for their bullpen was Brock Stewart, who they traded for ahead of the trade deadline. And in his case, imaging showed no structural damage, so he will be down from throwing for at least a week. He's on the IL right now, but this is as good as it gets for the Dodgers because that elbow injury that landed him, or that soreness that landed him on the IL right now, that inflammation isn't as bad to keep him for a long-term stint in the IL. It could have been worse. And Brock Stewart, I know that his 4 appearances with the Dodgers weren't fantastic. And, I mean, there should have been some warning signs when all it took was James Outman. And I am a huge James Outman fan. That rookie season he had was fantastic. But for the Dodgers to get Brock Stewart, the only thing they needed to send was James Outman. That could have raised red flags, and right there, he's not 100% at the moment. I don't know if it's strictly a physical thing or if it's a thing where he's still adapting, or he probably had a better situation over in Minnesota where he was a killer against right-handers. Over here with the Dodgers, he hasn't had that success since his return. Hopefully, these 10 days on the IL, and if it's more, just let it be a couple days more, not a lot, because they need him bad right now, helps him come back better than ever. And now, rehab assignment time. It's time to talk about AAA, about the OKC Comets. Roki Sasaki is opening for the OKC Comets on Thursday, today. Michael Kopech, he's going to be following him over there in that game as well. Those 2 guys, it would be great for the Dodgers to get him back. I don't know if Sasaki will be 100% ready because remember, he's a rookie. It's his first year in Major League Baseball. Yes, he had success in Japan, but he's still a young player compared to a more developed product that arrived last year for the Dodgers with Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Let's see if Sasaki is going to be ready by the time that September rolls around. And I mean, right now, would you prefer having Roki Sasaki out of the bullpen compared to Edgardo Henriquez, who just pitched straight fastballs back to back to Ohapi, and he ended up getting that single to win the game for the Angels? Would you prefer having him compared to Alexis Diaz, who was supposed to be the guy coming out for the Dodgers in the ninth inning if they weren't down on the score? I feel that Sasaki would be a good option. I know Travis Rogers, who will be back on Friday, he will always bring up the walks, the traffic on the bases. I feel that there's potential right there with Roki Sasaki, and I'd be down to getting him back. His fastball, his mechanics, they're getting to a better place compared to when he went down, when he got injured, when he was not in a good headspace. Let's see what happens with him. The pain is gone. He's pitching Thursday, OKC. Let's see what he does over there. And Michael Kopech, he was a big fundamental piece for these Dodgers winning the World Series last year. If he returns, if he's healthy, if he's available, that's one of the guys that you would love to have out of the bullpen for the 7th, 8th, 9th innings. Whenever you get the higher leverage situations, you send him out there for the Dodgers, because Blake Treinen, when he returned, he hasn't been great. We know that there's this curve where a player gets injured, especially a pitcher. You can't expect him to be that lights-out player that he was before getting injured, then after getting injured. There's an adaptation process. There's a curve where it's like, okay, he's coming back to his normal self, to the guy that we're used to seeing on the mound. Blake Treinen, he's been far from it. It's been like a situation where Kirby Yates with Tanner Scott, that every time they hit the mound, you didn't know what you were going to get. You were hoping they were going to be good, but there was a good chance that they weren't going to be good. Blake Treinen, that's the same case right now. Hopefully with Michael Kopech, when he comes back, it's a more stable situation and he comes to help out the Dodgers bullpen. Well, coming up on Locked On Dodgers, one team let the trade deadline pass with a shrug. The other emptied the tank. Dodgers, Padres, two strategies, one NL West race. Is it too early to say San Diego got it right? Don't forget to follow Locked On Dodgers not only on YouTube, but on X, Instagram, and TikTok as well. Big discussion in our TikTok account between Dodgers and Padres fans. Go join it and support the Dodgers. You can find me at Harry Ruiz on X, at Harry_Ruiz on Instagram, and at Harry Ruiz_ on TikTok. Meanwhile, my pal Travis, who will be back on Friday, he is on X and Instagram at Travis Rogers. The Dodgers and Padres, two front offices with completely different approaches to the trade deadline this year. I mean, you know that the Padres were going to go all in because that's what they do. That's what they've done year after year, all with one goal: catching up to the Dodgers and try to win their first divisional crown since 2006. That's nearly 20 years. That's nearly 2 decades. We're not even talking about winning the World Series. We're not talking about getting to the World Series. We're talking about them actually just winning the division. It's almost been 20 seasons, and you know they want it because that would mean that they would take down the Dodgers. AJ Preller, he's willing to wheel and deal. He made 5 trades involving 22 players on deadline day to end up landing closer Mason Miller from the A's, Ryan O'Hearn and Ramon Laureano from the Orioles, Nestor Cortez from the Brewers, and Freddie Fermin from the Royals. They went swinging for the fences. They copied the Rams strategy of screw, and you know it's not screw, it's another word, screw them picks, and see their contending window as right now. So they decided to pounce. And obviously we're not talking about picks, we're talking about prospects. Only 2 top 100 prospects were dealt before the trade deadline, and the Padres ended up sending the 3rd best prospect in baseball to the A's. They don't care about prospects right now. They care about winning in 2025, and they'll figure out 2026 and beyond afterwards. Meanwhile, the Dodgers, they took the complete opposite approach. They made 2 moves that mattered. Got reliever Brock Stewart from the Twins. Now he's out at least 10 days on the AL. They got outfielder Alex Call, who hasn't made a big difference since arriving to LA. The impact hasn't been felt with Call. When they've made the call for him to come in and play, he hasn't made a huge difference. The front office for the Boys in Blue, they were banking on their injured players being the reinforcements they were going to get for the final 2 months of the season. One team aggressive, the other wasn't. The Padres, since the deadline, 9 wins, 3 losses. The Dodgers, since the deadline, 5 wins, 7 defeats. One team is hot, they're now in the top of the division. The other one can't find any consistency. They're ice cold. They've slipped to second place. The Dodgers had opportunities. They could have. There were players moved that could have helped this team. Yohan Duran went to the Phillies. The Dodgers could have had him. I'm pretty sure if you gave the Guardians a sweet deal, they would have pulled the trigger and let Stephen Kwan come to LA. Same thing with the Cardinals with Brendan Donovan. They decided not to. Kenley Jansen, it would have been interesting because you know that Artie Moreno dislikes the Dodgers and wouldn't do anything to help them. But it would have been smart for a team that's going nowhere this year to accept a deal from the Dodgers. Didn't happen. I don't know if it was in the books or not, but Kenley Jansen, we saw him do a great job against the Dodgers, getting 2 saves over this 3-game series in Anaheim. There were opportunities. The Dodgers didn't strike. They preferred keeping the likes of Josue De Paula. They preferred keeping the likes of Sahir Hope, Dalton Rushing, Alex Freeland. And right now, where are these two teams? Going in 2 completely different trajectories. Going into 2 different completely different places. You got the Padres in first place, the Dodgers in second base. The Dodgers chasing, the Padres leading. That's not the way that we are used to having things. And something that I started thinking of, it's like, okay, you look at the Dodgers roster, you look at their lineup, and including some pitchers as well. Do you think that it has to do with the biggest bats on this team and a lot of their starters that are in the top of that rotation, like a Blake Snell, like a Tyler Glasnow, like Clayton Kershaw, that most of them are 30-plus years old, and that the front office, they're having a preference right now on keeping the young prospects and looking at the future and keeping an eye on the future and saying, yeah, you know what? These are guys that we're going to have in team control that are going to have salaries that are very, very manageable compared to a Yoshinobu Yamamoto, a Mookie Betts, Shohei Ohtani, that you're talking about contracts right there, $300+ million and 10+ years for them. Is that the case? But the reality is that there's no sure thing in baseball. We have to look at the Dodgers having in the books and what they have in the books in their immediate future. The team has more than half of their lineup under contract through 2027. 2027 is just this season, next season, and the season after that. You want to get at least one more World Series in that span. Ideally, I would love to see them go back-to-back, and it would be the first team in over 2 decades to go back-to-back since the Yankees went 3 in a row, 98, 99, and 2000. But if they don't win it this year and win it next, it's like, hey, 2 World Series in a 3-year span. Or if they win it in 2027, you would be talking, all right, 2 World Series in a 4-year span. That's good. The reality is the Dodgers are spending a lot of money. The Dodgers can spend more money. Just look at Guggenheim buying the Lakers for $10 billion or an evaluation of $10 billion. They do have the money. Yes, they're up there in the tax and they get paid. They have to pay pretty much $2 for every dollar that they spent. But this is the Dodgers. Right now, they're the standard in baseball. They're the team that has to go out there, be aggressive, and go for the win. It's disappointing to see the Padres. They keep on going, and the Dodgers, they aren't keeping up when it comes to, okay, look, they're being aggressive, we aren't. But the Dodgers felt confidence in themselves. They look at the moves that they did in the offseason and said, that's enough. We don't need more. We're in a good position. But if you observe that roster, if you analyze it, you saw that there were holes in that roster. You saw that you were going to be banking on players that were hurt to come back and deliver like they were before they were hurt. Fortunately, Max Muncy has delivered the way that we've seen Max Muncy in the past. But Blake Trinan, that hasn't been the case. Blake Snell, we got a good game out of him with double-digit strikeouts last week. Is he going to be able to be consistent that way? Tyler Glasnow, we've gotten mostly good out of him. That would be fantastic to see him that way the rest of the way. But you can't just bank on the guys that are injured to come back and be fantastic because you spent a lot of money, $40+ million, on Tanner Scott. Because you got a guy that was an all-star last season in Kirby Yates and be like, no, he's going to come back and he's going to be better. He hasn't been good this season. Tanner Scott, he's been half and half. We've seen half good, half bad. Are you going to bank on him being your closer? Are you going to bank on him being your eighth inning guy? I mean, we've put trust in this front office to do good things, and right now, they're not delivering. Let's see what happens. We got a month and a half of baseball left with the regular season and the postseason after that. Man, buckle up. It's going to be, I don't know if a good ride, but it's going to be an interesting one for sure. That'll do it for today's show. Thanks for making Locked On Dodgers your first listen. If you're still craving more baseball talk, have the all-new Locked On MLB Game Night be your second listen. Every game, every night, all season long. Get local analysis on a national scale. Find it on Locked On MLB on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts. And also, catch Pete Fox after every Dodgers game on our YouTube channel with his live postcast immediately after the final out of every game. A big show here on Locked On Dodgers is coming up tomorrow, Friday, ahead of what will be a massive series. The most important one so far in the 2025 season for the LA Dodgers, as they'll face the San Diego Padres, with both teams getting there at the top of the divisional race. Padres one game lead at the moment, 69-52. Dodgers 68-53. We appreciate you riding with us. Until next time, keep it real. Keep it Dodger Blue.